was tougher than the rest of us. Tougher, colder, meaner. The shade of difference that separates a greaser from a hood wasn't present in Darry. He was as wild as the boys in the downtown outfits, like Tim Shepard's gang. In New York, Darry blew off steam in gang fights, but here, organized gangs are rarities. There are just small bunches of friends who stick together, and the warfare is between the social classes. Let me try to turn this thing up. Social classes. A rumble when it's called. Is usually born of a grudge fight, and the opponents just happen to bring their friends along. Oh, there are a few named gangs around, like the River Kings and the Tipper Street Tigers. But here in the Southwest, there's no gang rivalry, so Darry, even though he could get into a good fight sometimes, had no specific thing to hate. No rival gang. Only sucks, and you can't win against them no matter how hard you try, because they've got all the breaks, and even whipping them isn't going to change that fact. Maybe that was why Dallas was so bitter. He had quite a reputation. They had a file on him down at the police station. He had been arrested. He got drunk. He rode in rodeos, lied, cheated, stole, rode drunks, jumped small kids. He did everything. I didn't like him, but he was smart and you had to respect him. Johnny Cade was last and least. If you can picture a little dark puppy that has been kicked too many times and is lost in a crowd of strangers, you'll love Johnny. He was the youngest next to me, smaller than the rest, with a slight build. He had big black eyes and a dark tanned face. His hair was jet black and heavily greased and combed to the side, but it was too long, so long that it fell in shaggy bangs across his forehead. He had a nervous, suspicious look in his eyes, and that beating he got from the socks didn't help matters. He was the gang's pet, everyone's kid brother. His father was always beating him up, and his mother ignored him, except when she was hacked off at something, and then you could hear her yelling at him clear down at our house. I think he hated that worse than getting whipped. He would have run away a million times if we hadn't been there. If it hadn't been for the gang, Johnny would never have known what love and affection are. I wiped my eyes hurriedly. Did I catch him? No. Did you catch him? No. They got away this time. The dirty. Two-Bit went on cheerfully, calling the socks every name he could think of or make up. The kid's okay. I'm okay. I tried to think of something to say. I'm usually pretty quiet around people, even the gang. I changed the subject. I didn't know you were out of the cooler yet, Darry. Good behavior. Got off early. Dallas lit a cigarette and handed it to Johnny. Everyone sat down to have a smoke and relax. The smoke always lessens the tension. I had quit trembling and my color was back. The cigarette was calming me down. Two-Bit cocked an eyebrow. Nice looking bruise you got there. Kid. I touched my cheek gingerly. Really? Two-Bit nodded sagely. Nice cut too. Makes you look tough. Tough and stuff are two different words. Tough is the same as rough. Tough means cool, sharp like. A tough looking Mustang or a tough record. In our neighborhood, both are compliments. looks at me. What were you doing? Walking by your lonesome? Leave it to good old Steve to bring up something like that. I was coming home from the movies. I didn't think. You don't ever think, Darry broke in. Not at home or anywhere when it counts. You must think at school with all those good grades you bring home. And you've always got your nose in a book. But do you ever use your head for common sense? No, sorry, bub. And if you did have to go by yourself, you should have carried a blade. I just stared at the hole in the toe of my tennis shoe. Me and Darry just didn't dig each other. I never could please him. He would have hollered at me for carrying a blade if I had carried one. If I brought home B's, he wanted A's, and if I got A's, he wanted to make sure they stayed A's. If I was playing football, I should be studying, and if I was reading, I should be out playing football. He never hollered at Soda Pop, not even when Soda dropped out of school or got tickets for speeding. He just hollered at me. Soda was glaring at him. Leave my kid brother alone, you hear? It ain't his fault he likes to go to the movies, and it ain't his fault the Sox like to jump us. And if he had been carrying a blade, it would have been a good excuse to cut him to ribbons. Soda always sticks up for me. Darry said impatiently, when I want my kid brother to tell me what to do with my other kid brother, I'll ask you. Kid brother. But he laid off me. He always does when Soda Pop tells him to. Most of the time. Next time, get one of us to go with you, Pony Boy, Two-Bit said. Any of us will. Speaking of movies, Darry yawned, flipping away his cigarette bud. I'm walking over to the nightly double tomorrow night. Anybody wanting to come and hunt some action? Steve shook his head. Me and Sutter are picking up Evie and Sandy for the game. I like how I make every time I read, I make everybody country sound country, but let's just go along with a country reading. Me and Steve, anybody want to come and hunt some action? Steve shook his head. Me and Sutter are picking up Evie and Sandy for the game. He didn't need to look at me the way he did right then. I wasn't going to ask if I could come. I never tell Soda because he really likes Steve a lot, but sometimes I can't stand Steve Randall. I mean it. Sometimes I hate him. Darry sighed just like I knew he would. Darry never had time to do anything anymore. I'm working tomorrow night. Dally looked at the rest of us. How about y'all? Two-Bit, Johnny Cake, you, and Pony wanna come? Me and Johnny will come, I said. I knew Johnny wouldn't open his mouth unless he was forced to. Okay, Darry. Yeah, since it ain't a school night, Darry was real good about letting me go to places on the weekends. On school nights, I could hardly leave the house. I was planning on getting boozed up tomorrow night. Two-Bit said. If I don't, I'll walk over and find y'all. Steve was looking at Dally's hand. His ring, which he had rode a drunk senior to get, was back on his finger. You break up with Sylvia again? Yeah, and this time is for good. That little broad was two-timing me again while I was in jail. I thought of Sylvia and Evie and Sandy and Two-Bit's mini blondes. They were the only kind of girls that would look at us, I thought. Tough, loud girls who wore too much eye makeup and giggled and swore too much. I liked Soda's girl, Sandy, just fine, though. Her hair was natural blonde and her laugh was soft like her china blue eyes. She didn't have a real good home or anything and was our kind greaser, but she was a real nice girl. Still, lots of times I wondered what other girls were like. The girls who were bright-eyed and had their dresses a decent length and acted as if they'd like to spit on us if given a chance. Some were afraid of us and remembering maybe their boys didn't get arrested or beaten up or busted up in rodeos. I was still thinking about it while I was doing my homework that night. I had read Great Expectations for English, and that kid Pip, he reminded me of us. The way he felt marked lousy because he wasn't a gentleman or anything, and the way that girl kept looking down on him. That happened to me one time in biology. I had to dissect a worm and the razor wouldn't cut, so I used my switchblade. The minute I flicked it out, I forget what I was doing, or I would never have done it. This girl right beside me kind of gasped and said, "They are right. You are a hood." They didn't make me feel so hot. There were a lot of socks in that class. I get put into A classes because I'm supposed to be smart, and most of them thought it was pretty funny. I didn't know. She was a cute girl. She looked real good in yellow. We deserve a lot of our trouble, I thought. We deserve a lot of our trouble, I thought. Dallas deserves everything he gets. He should get worse if you want the truth. And 2-bit, he doesn't really want or need half of the things he swipes from stores. He just thinks it's fun to swipe everything that isn't nailed down. I can understand why Soda Pop and Steve get into drag races and fight so much, though. Both of them have too much energy, too much feelings, with no way to blow it off. Rub harder, Soda. I heard Darry mumbling, "You're gonna put me to sleep." I looked through the door. Soda Pop was giving Darry a back rub. Darry is always pulling muscles. He roofs houses and always trying to carry 2 bundles of roofing up the ladder. I knew Soda wouldn't put him to sleep because Soda can put about anyone out when he sets his head to it. He thought so. Darry worked it too hard anyway. I did too. Darry didn't deserve to work like an old man when he was only 20. He had been a real popular guy in school. He was captain of the football team, and he had been voted Boy of the Year. But we just didn't have the money for him to go to college, even with the athletic scholarship he won. And now he didn't have time between jobs to even think about college, so he never went anywhere and never did anything anymore except work out at gyms and go skiing with some old friends of his sometimes. I rubbed my cheek where it had turned purple. I had looked in the mirror and it did make me look tough, but Darry had made me put a band-aid on the cut. I remembered how awful Johnny had looked when he got beaten up. I had just as much right to use the streets as the Sox did, and Johnny had never hurt them. Why did the Sox hate us so much? We left them alone. I nearly went to school over my homework trying to figure it out. Soda Pop, who had jumped into bed by this time, yelled sleepily for me to turn off the light and get to bed. When I finished the chapter I was on, I did. Lying beside Soda, staring at the wall, I kept remembering the faces of the Sox as they surrounded me. That blue mattress shirt the blonde were wearing, and I could sit still and hear a thick voice. "Need a haircut, greaser?" I shivered. "You cold, pony boy?" "A little," I lied. Soda threw one arm across my neck. He mumbled something drowsily. "Listen, kiddo, when Darry hollers at you, he don't mean nothing. He's just got more worries than somebody his age ought to. Don't take him serious. You dig, pony? Don't let him bug you. He's really proud of you 'cause you're so brainy. It's just because you're the baby. I mean, he loves you a lot. Savvy?" "Sure," I said, trying for Soda's sake to keep the sarcasm out of my voice. "Soda? Yeah? How come you dropped out?" "I never have gotten over that. I could hardly stand it when he left school. 'Cause I'm dumb. The only thing was passing anyway, or auto mechanics in gym. You're not dumb. Yeah, I am. Shut up and I'll tell you something. Don't tell Darry, though. Okay. I think I'm gonna marry Cindy after she gets out of school and I get a better job and everything. I might wait till you get out of school, though, so I can still help Darry with the bills and stuff. Tough enough. Wait till I get out, though, so you can keep Darry off my back. Don't be like that kid. I told you, he don't mean half of what he says. You in love with Sandy? What's it like? He sighed happily. It's real nice. In a moment, his breathing was light and regular. I turned my head to look at him in the moonlight. He looked like some great god come to earth. I wondered how he could stand being so handsome. Then I sighed. I didn't quite get what he meant about Darry. Darry thought I was just another mouth to feed and somebody to holler at. Darry loved me. I thought of those hard, pale eyes. Soda was wrong for once, I thought. Darry doesn't love anyone or anything except maybe Soda. I didn't hardly think of him as being human. I don't care. I lied to myself. I don't care about him either. Soda's enough, and I'd have him until I got out of school. I don't care about Darry, but I was still lying and I knew it. I lie to myself all the time, but I never believe me. Dally, this is chapter 2 now. I'll read like 5 more minutes. Okay. Dally was waiting for Johnny and me under the street light at the corner of Pickett and Susan. And since we got there early, we had time to go over the drugstore in the shopping center and goof around. We bought Cokes and blew the straws at the waitress and walked around eyeing things that were lying out in the open until the manager got wise to us and suggested we leave. He was too late, though. Dally walked out with 2 packages of Cools under his jacket. Then we went across the street and down Susan a little way to the Dingo. There are lots of drive-ins in town. The Sox go to the Way Out into Rusty's, and the Gracers go to the Dingo and to Jay's. The Dingo is a pretty rough hangout. There's always a fight going on there, and once a girl got shot. We walked around talking to all the Gracers and hoods we knew, leaning in car windows or hopping into the back seat and getting into the back seats and getting in on who was running away and who was in jail and who was going with who and who could whip who and who stole what and when and why. We knew about everybody there. There was a pretty good fight while we were there between a big 23-year-old greaser and a Mexican hitchhiker. We left when the switchblades came out because the cops would be coming soon and nobody in his right mind wants to be around when the fuzz show. We crossed Susan and cut around behind Spencer's Special, the discount house, and chased 2 junior high kids across the field for a few minutes. By then it was dark enough to sneak in over the back fence of the nightly double drive-in movie. It was the biggest in town and showed 2 movies every night. And on weekends for you could say you were going to the nightly double and have time to go all over town. We all had the money to get in. It only costs a quarter if you're not in the car. But Dally hated to do things the illegal way. He liked to show that he didn't care whether there was a law or not. He went around trying to break laws. We went to the rows of seats in front of the concession stand to sit down. Nobody else was there except 2 girls who were sitting down front. Dally eyed them cooing, then walking down the aisle and sat right behind them. I had a sick feeling that Dally was up to his usual tricks, and I was right. He started talking loud enough for the two girls to hear. He started out bad and got worse. Dallas could talk awful dirty if he wanted to, and I guess he wanted to then. I felt my ears get hot. Two bitter Steve or even Soda would have gone right along with him, just to see if they could embarrass the girls, but that kind of kicks just doesn't appeal to me. I sat there struck dumb, and Johnny left hastily to get a Coke. I wouldn't have felt so embarrassed if they had been greasy girls. I might even have helped old Dallas, but these two girls weren't our kind. They were tough-looking girls, just sharp and really good-looking. They looked about 16 or 17. One had short dark hair, and the other had long red hair. The redhead was getting mad or scared. She sat up straight and she was chewing hard on her gum. The other one pretended not to hear Darry. Darry was getting impatient. He put his feet up on the back of the redhead's chair, winked at me, and beat his own record for saying something dirty. She turned around and gave him a cool stare. "Take your feet off my chair and shut your trap." Boy, she was good looking. I'd seen her before. She was a cheerleader at our school. I'd always thought she was stuck up. Darry merely looked at her and kept his foot where they were. "Who's gonna make me?" The other one turned around and watched us. That's the greaser that jockeys for the slash chase sometimes, she said, as if we couldn't hear her. I had heard the same tone a billion times. Gracer, gracer, gracer. Oh yeah, I had heard that tone before too many times. What are they doing at a drive-in without a car? I thought, and Della said, "I know you two. I've seen you around rodeos. It's a shame you can't ride bull half as good as you can talk it." The redhead said coolly and turned back around. That didn't bother Darry in the least. You two barrel race, huh? You'd better leave us alone," the redhead said in a bidding voice, "or I'll call the cops." "Oh, Mama." Darry looked bored. "You've got me scared to death." Or, let me do it again. "Oh, my. You've got me scared to death." You ought to see my record sometime, baby." He grinned slyly. "Guess what I've been in for?" "Please leave us alone," she said. "Why don't you be nice and leave us alone?" Darry grinned roguishly. "I'm never nice. Want a Coke?" She was mad by then. I wouldn't drink it if I was starving in the desert. Get lost, Hood. Darry merely shrugged and strode off. The girl looked at me. I was half scared of her. I'm half scared of all nice girls, especially Socks. "Are you going to start in on us?" I shook my head wide-eyed. "No." Suddenly she smiled. Gosh, she was pretty. "You don't look the type. What's your name?" I wish you hadn't asked me that. I hate to tell people my name for the first time. Pony Boy Curtis. Then I waited for the "you're kidding" or "that's your real name" or one of the other remarks I usually get. Pony Boy is my real name, and personally, I like it. The redhead just smiled. "That's an original and lovely name." "My dad wasn't an original person," I said. "I've got a brother named Soda Pop, and it says so on his birth certificate. My name's Sherry, but I'm called Jerry because of my hair. Jerry Valens." "I know," I said. "You're a cheerleader. We go to the same school. You don't look old enough to be going to high school," the dark-haired girl said. "I'm not. I got put up a year in a grade school." Jerry was looking at me. "What's a nice, smart kid like you running around with trash like that for?" I felt myself stiffen. "I'm a Grace, same as Darry. He's my buddy." "I'm sorry, Pony Boy," she said softly. Then she said briskly, "Your brother's Soda Pop. Does he work at a gasoline station? A DX, I think." "Yeah." "Man, your brother is one dog guessed you were brothers. You look alike. I grinned with pride. I don't think I look one bit like Soda, but it's not every day I hear socks telling me they think my brother is a doll. Didn't he used to ride in rodeos? Soda brunk. Yeah, Dad made him quit after he tore a ligament, though. We still hang around rodeos a lot. I've seen you two barrel race. You're good. Thanks, Jerry said. And the other girl, who was named Marcia, said, how come we don't see your brother at school? He's not any older than 16 or 17, is he? I went inside. I've told you I can't stand it that Soda dropped out. He's a dropout, I said briefly. Drop out. Make me think of some poor, dumb-looking hoodlum wandering the streets, breaking out streetlights. It didn't fit my happy-go-lucky brother at all. It fitted Darry perfectly, but you could hardly say it about Soda. Okay, I'm getting sleepy, as you can see this from the beginning, and I need to drink more water. My skin looks, under eyes is looking bad, but we stopped at page 24, so we'll come back again for next month, and every month I need to try to post my videos sooner, just because I just want to start doing that. But I was trying to see